So we have to do a review of the newspapers. We'll be joined by Kojo Yankson very soon. But let's look at what stories we have. How was your weekend? I'm sure busy one for you as well.
Yeah, but it was okay. Let's do the Daily Graphic newspaper. Front page of the Graphic today. NPP affirms Blay his 8th national chairman. So acting chairman, now substantive, very much substantive chairman of the New Patriotic Party. Ibrahim Mahama adjudged African Industrialist of the Year. NPP grateful to God for successful conference. Build harmonious relationship, President tells NPP post holders. But I guess it's appropriate we begin from page 3. It was a long and tedious wait for the 6,000 delegates of the New Patriotic Party and other members of the party who thronged the party field, the playing field of the Kufuor Technical University for the 26th National Delegate Conference of the party. But for some of the 41 candidates who contested NPP national executive positions at the conference, the waiting was worthwhile, especially for Mr. Freddie Blay, the acting national chairman, whose candidature was endorsed by 3,021 votes. So about 4:15 a.m., when the results were finally declared, supporters of the various candidates who had been uncertain of the outcome of the polls thanked the Almighty God for successful elections. And we brought you a very detailed coverage. It was back to back until a declaration was made, and conversations on the ground even afterwards. So if this was your dial, well, we thank you and we hope that you were satisfied with our coverage of the NPP's annual delegates conference. There are a lot more details in the paper, but I think for a man, the picture on the third page, the one that comes with the story actually, is one Stephen Ntim is almost stretching out his hand to shake Mr. Freddie Blay, and then there's also Dr. Amwakoba there. But Mr. Ntim, this is the 4th time that he's failed to be national chairman. I wonder if he's going to go again.
Yeah, I remember the first time I spoke to him back in, is it 2004, thereabout? I spoke to him and he said he was optimistic because he had been helping the party over the years and consistently had tried to make a go at it. I think that...
This is the end of the road?
No.
As chairman?
No, not really.
Really?
He can still go ahead.
Yeah?
I'm not sure he's too old to become chairman.
Well, but if you've tried for the 4th time...
Well, the president tried to become president for how many times? 3 times.
Yeah.
So.
4th is like going a little above. But we wait to see what kind of decision.
Yeah. 4th is like a 12-year period, right?
Yeah. The center spread of the paper, though, is reminding us of something that we live with in Ghana, the perennial flooding. And the paper is sharing a few thoughts. It's a feature that you can check out. It's in the center spread of the Daily Graphic newspaper. There's a story on page 59 that I wanted to go to. I think it's been on websites and on social media. Ghanaian businessman Mr. Ibrahim Mahama has been adjudged the Industrialist of the Year at the 2018 edition of the African Achievers Award. The African Achievers Award has consistently honored great African achievers, from African leaders, young achievers, and community builders to captains of industry across the continent. And the award ceremony has been established as one of the biggest gathering of influential and global African achievers on the continent. So at the 8th edition of the award ceremony held at the House of Parliament, London, Mr. Mahama was presented with the award of Lindsay Oliver, co-founder of the Al Jazeera News Channel. Mr. Mahama conveyed his appreciation to the organizers of the events for the great honor done him and his company, engineers and planners. So the picture that comes with the story is one that Mr. Mahama essentially is showcasing his award and smiling. On the back page of the Daily Graphic is some sports. Bring on Croatia. We are ready for them. Charles, Croatia and England. And how I was so against England, but I mean, it was an easy win for them, wasn't it? This one says, we'll prove to Henry he picked wrong side. That's France, and that's because Thierry Henry, it's a technical advisor of a sort, or he sits on the technical bench, the Belgium side, and Belgium is meeting France. And so, yeah, that's where the thought is coming from. But English FA sure Southgate will stay beyond 2020. See the English people. At the beginning, there was no hope. Nobody was even minding them. Then suddenly,
they're already giving themselves the expectation to win the World Cup, and I think the mantra is bring the cup home, or football is coming home.
Really?
Football, it's coming home.
Yeah.
It's suddenly,
they originated the sport.
Suddenly, football is coming home.
Yeah. It's a hashtag.
A very long time. It's been decades.
Football is coming home.
Yeah, it's been
the
decades
home where
since
it originated. So.
Hello, by the way. Hello.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning. How are you? So they seem to have this whole euphoria now about how they can, even though prior to the tournament, I think Phil McNulty is a great columnist for the BBC, had written that they would just be putting the expectations around the quarterfinals, and now they've exceeded that, and they think they can go all the way.
Now they think that. Well, they're very close though.
Yeah.
So how would Ghanaians have reacted if we had beaten Uruguay and ended up in the semis?
I think we could have won the World Cup then.
Thank you. You see, so that's all it is.
Yeah.
These people haven't won the World Cup in a very long time. Yeah. They love football.
They have even won it before, yes. So at least.
And they love football just like we do. So I don't know why people are surprised or even upset that they are so excited. And
they're
expectant.
Too excited.
How do you measure
so excited
excitement?
Is fine.
I seem to like the English.
How much excitement is too much?
No, I seem to like the English because they are taking an average team incomparable to the other teams that they've featured in other tournaments, especially during the golden age of the Ferdinands and the Beckhams, for which they were not able to win the World Cup. And to use just let's say your average team to get to where they are.
Well, we wait to see. They have to go past Croatia, though.
I think they can go past Croatia.
All right, we wait to see.
We will beat Croatia.
We wait to see. But that's it for the Daily Graphic. There are other stories in the graphic that you can check out.
Well, so.
I heard you talk about Ibrahim Mahama just before I go into the Ghanaian Times. No, I have never met him. I'd love to, because I think he reminds me of a lot of Ghanaians who have worked miracles, but because of politics, we tend to downplay the hard work of what they've done. He's a great example of that. So is Jospong. Politics makes us decide how we want to view these people. But in that story, it tells you that he took £500 and turned it into $5 billion over a period that is not very long. He came back in the 90s, end of the 90s, 98, he came to Ghana from England with £500. Started a rental company for equipment, digging equipment. Took advantage of an opportunity that came up when there was diversification of state assets, and he has become a billionaire, one of the very few African billionaires. Yet all we see him as is the former president's brother, and everything he does is looked at through the lens of politics. Yes, I don't want him to be exonerated of anything wrong he may have done, if he has done anything wrong. But we also shouldn't downplay the amazing feat that he has accomplished in business. And it's the same for many other Ghanaian business moguls who unfortunately don't get the credit for what they
I agree with you on this one. And we have to celebrate our own, that's the whole point. And we have to remove the politics out of the business side of the way we do our things.
Yeah. Ghanaian Times, government to recruit 8,000 teachers for free SHS program.
When did that come?
The president mentioned that at the Congress in Koforidua. Former Vice President Emis Arthur to be laid to rest July 27. And at the New Patriotic Party's national officers election, it's Freddie Blay. He beat Stephen Ntim and Dr. Amwakoba to become the new NPP national chairman. Now, inside today on the crime page, the court is unhappy about the handling of Aisha Wan's case, the Galamsey Queen. The judge is not very happy. That's Justice Charles Ecole Baden. He thinks that the delays are making it seem as if the judicial service are not working, but they are, he says. A carpenter has been remanded for sexually abusing an 8-year-old girl. These are stories that break my heart, but the details of this unfortunate story will be found on page 3. Okay, government to recruit 8,000 teachers for free SHS program. Now, the president mentioned this over the weekend in Koforidua, where he spoke to the 6,000 delegates and many others who were there to select their leadership for the next 4 years, for the party's next 4 years. Talked about a lot of things, mentioned these 8,000 teachers. And it made me think of something I said when the NDC government were announcing the building of several new hospitals. I remember asking what's being done about the quality of the existing hospitals, where people are dying today for reasons like no oxygen
or no
beds. And I thought, which is cheaper and which would make more impact? Would it be to better tool the existing hospitals and give them better staff, more staff to save lives, or building new hospitals and then going to look for staff to come and fill them and just replicate the problems that you've created in the existing hospitals? And I asked the same question about the teachers. 8,000 more appear to be needed. And yes, there are places in this country where there are no teachers, but there are also teachers who don't have jobs, you know. And so if the president wants to recruit 8,000 more, I hope that they are going to be sent to the areas where they are needed, and that the money spent on paying 8,000 teachers, I hope it can't be put to better use by perhaps taking some schools out of being under trees and you know, and so forth. So you know, government spending money is always a balancing act, and you always have to figure out the best use of your resources. Teachers are needed, but what we need more than anything is quality teaching. So let's hope that we're spending some money to improve the quality of our existing teachers as well.
Well, equity is what is needed in all aspects. I feel that we have to balance the two, do the two at the same time. Yeah, if we can.
Yeah.
All right, you're done?
I think I'm done with it.
All right, so perhaps maybe a few stories of notes on the front page of the Daily Guide would be Media Foundation for West Africa punches holes in Anas number 12 video, and then also EC petitioners will hold a press conference today. So basically, let's look at the latter first. It says the petitioners who initiated the process to remove EC chairperson Charlotte Osei are expected to hold a news conference in Accra today. We had a legal representative, or one of the petitioners, legal representative, here in the studio on the day or the day after when that announcement was made, following that news release from the presidency here in the studio. And so he gave us a vivid account of what their objectives were, what was inherent or the content of the petition. And since then, since that announcement, we've had a number of commentary from a number of the individuals about what decision has been reached. Subsequently, a decision also taken by the president. We'll see how it goes with the content of what they're about to say at that press conference. We also have Media Foundation for West Africa has described as unacceptable method used by Anas Aremeyaw Anas to expose corruption in Ghana football. We should remember, CAF has taken the necessary action. A referee from Kenya has already received a lifetime ban. 9 others have been given various suspensions. And so perhaps maybe they are also punching holes in Anas' investigative video. And then also,
you know, the Kenyan referee, the assistant referee, they say he's a celebrated referee in Kenya, very, very respected. And he hasn't spoken since. He hasn't said a word, not to anybody. So he's not defending himself. He's not commenting on the situation as well. But now he's received, and this is the same man that we're told was supposed to have been at the World Cup.
Well,
there's a paragraph
so we've had a number of referees, assistants, etc., from Ghana to Gambia, right on to Mauritius, all parts of the...
Indeed. There's a paragraph in that story where he highlights the specific reason why the Media Foundation thinks there is a problem with Anas's methodology. And I think this is important because this might be the most credible organization yet to raise questions about Anas's methods. Okay, and that particular paragraph, I don't know if you can see it.
It says, in other words, Is that it? Regardless of the methods employed, a journalist is only to report, review, or disclose events, activities, happenings, or acts that exist. Such events, acts, happenings, or activities cannot and must not be once triggered, prompted, promoted, activated, enabled, or created by the journalist. But this is exactly what Anas and his team did for the number 12 documentary. So I don't know that if you do a study of events and literature around the Watergate scandal, I don't know, they were all triggered by informants, journalists. I don't know.
Yeah, I think anyway, perhaps what they're trying to highlight is the fact that in this case, Anas created the circumstances within which the wrongdoing occurred. So they created a situation rather than reporting on the existence of a situation, which, according to Media Foundation, that's the job of the media. So even if you're going to do undercover journalism, the purpose must be to report the existence of a situation, not to create a situation. But there is also a type of journalism called sting journalism. And Media Foundation acknowledges that it is a legitimate form of journalism. But sting journalism is about creating a situation or setting up an enabling environment and seeing whether somebody will commit an offense. Okay, so sometimes the journalists might go and leave a bag in a busy shopping center to see whether the people there are security conscious and whether they will report it or whether somebody will steal it, or so you are creating a situation, and if something happens, you'll report on it, and it is called sting journalism. But in this case, Media Foundation seems to think that there is something not quite right about how Anas did this story. This debate will obviously
Now, before we go, suspended minister back at post, and it says Pius Enam Hajide was then on suspension.
What a forum to announce that.
Yes, and the president did that.
I think it was really
Pius
good. So he's expected back today because the president says that will formally be done today, Monday.
Okay. Yeah.
This would make two ministers who have been reinstated following investigations, and I do this because I am yet to see the reports from these investigations.
Because I think what we need to see is this particular one where he's been recalled. We have to see the reports. We have to see what is contained. Now, what were they investigating him for exactly, and how did they arrive at the conclusion that he had done nothing wrong? Remember also that when this whole thing came up,
which committee even did it? Was there a publicly announced constituted committee for which we're all aware?
I'm not aware.
We just
there may
knew
have been,
that
but
because if you listen to the president very well, it's as if that an investigation has been undertaken by a certain body.
Which body?
And
who set them up?
I was.
How independent are they?
Yeah, I was a bit intrigued. I wanted to think. Well, I think we should have known. Oh, so and so was heading a certain committee, etc.
Yeah.
That also adds some credibility to whatever outcomes that will be announced, etc. But
it frustrates me a little bit that this particular president should be interested in being as transparent as possible.
Well, he is.
He perhaps could do more.
Okay, yeah.
Because there have been far too many instances where people who are under suspicion are cleared in a way that is not publicly understood. We don't quite understand how the clearing occurred. It has led to opposition giving him all kinds of names like clearing agent and so forth, simply because there appears to be this amorphous process, this secret process that occurs when a person is accused, and then suddenly the process is completed, the person is found not guilty, exonerated, reinstated, to go and serve the public. Yet the public has no idea how you cleared the person. And there's this reliance on us trusting you. You are the president, so we trust you.
Well, but you have to.
No, we don't.
You have to. He's
we don't.
He's our president, and we've got to trust him.
We should.
I agree with you on getting to know which committee. But if you don't trust your president, then what's the point?
I would like to clarify that. I think we should advise Ghanaians to trust the presidency. Okay, because various people will hold that seat. But those people are people, human beings. Okay? So we need to make sure that we have systems that allow whichever human being you are to take that seat and not abuse it, so that we can trust the presidency, but not the person. You're a human being. Whoever you are, you're a human being.
Well, I choose to trust him because he's my president.
All right, that's a choice.
Yes.
Okay, but what I'm saying is that we should trust the presidency. We should be able to have a system that is so airtight that we trust the presidency. Whoever sits there, we know that that person will only work in our interest. I tell you what,
if people didn't trust you, they would not vote for you in the first place.
Yes,
people have to repose some kind of trust in you to want you to be their president.
So two things there. First of all, not everybody voted for him.
But he's still the president.
Yes. Secondly, after you vote for him, he now has to give you a reason to be glad you did. He now has to prove you right for voting for him. And he has 4 years to do it. And in that time, he should take an interest in demonstrating that transparency that he kept talking about during the campaigns, during the time that he was in opposition. That reputation he built for himself, he has an interest in keeping it and building it. And I feel like he's missed some opportunities to do so.
Okay. All right, let's do the Finder newspaper, front page of the Finder. NPP set for 2020 elections. Overcome complacency, power can trick you. That was a powerful speech delivered by former President John Agyekum Kufuor. GJA to boycott upcoming forum with police. That story is on page 14. We'll get to that in a bit. Ibrahim Mahama grabs 2018 African Achievers Award in London. GCB Bank shareholders vote to increase stated capital to 500 million Ghana cedis. And this call by the GJA at a press briefing last Friday by the president essentially is because we haven't found justice for Lateef, and there's a forum coming up with the Ghana Police Service. So the GJA has asked its members to boycott the upcoming forum between the media and police in solidarity with the alleged attack on Lateef Idris, who is our colleague here at Multimedia. This is because the police administration had failed to ensure justice on the incidents which left the reporter traumatized, battling with life due to the severe harm. He had his skull fractured as a result of the assault. So Mr. Alfred Money, the president of the association, made this known during a press conference held on Friday in Accra at the Ghana International Press Center. The forum, which is expected to take place on Wednesday, July 11 this year, under the auspices of the Media Foundation for West Africa, is to enable both bodies to better appreciate their individual works, as well as to promote better friendship between the two. Mr. Money said, quote, "The GJA is fully committed to building a healthy police-media relationship, given to the fact that we have a common objective of seeking the interest and security of the police, as well as the development of the nation. But we will not sacrifice our dignity and life on the altar of friendship," on quotes. So there's a lot more to what he said, which is on page 14. The Finder newspaper of today. You can check it out. Yeah, there were other people who were saying, listen, boycott activities of the police service as well. You know, but it's always tricky. I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
I mean, I've got to tell you, I really want us to find those brutes who hurt Lateef. And not just him, you know, all others who have been victims of police brutality would want to see justice. I just don't know what the right way of doing it is. The police have found this way of simply getting away with not taking action when their own does wrong. And they are such a powerful group of people armed with weapons that if we don't find a way of controlling them, you know, what's the thing about you feed a dog until it finally eats you or whatever? There's some you know, like saying about that. And I'm very scared of that.
It's a shame.
You know, happening with our police. They are such an essential service, so poorly regulated, so poorly trained, so poorly resourced. And we allow them to get away with so much. I don't know what the media can do that will be effective at this point. This boycott, I don't know.
The point is that the media doesn't even come together to do things. You know, we start something and you realize there's just a few people who are doing it. I mean, that's how it's always been. It's some way. We'll see. 11th of July is just around the corner. Let's see what happens with this call by the GJA.
Well, let's do the online portals, even though we have to do some thinking on this. Isi Wahala will rehearse. I'll release.
You haven't mentioned which paper.
Okay, it's the Daily Dispatch newspaper. There's one, Kweku Ejay Labi, who apparently was, is it an indicted or a suspended accountant?
Suspended.
Finance person of the Electoral Commission, and apparently has in his safe custody
the man with the money in the safe.
432,000 Ghana cedis. He says it's there. It's right in the office. I
got the keys to the safe.
I kept it in custody.
Reinstate him, and he will open it.
And his counsels or his counsel representatives said that
people have
their clients would want to be reinstated.
People have reacted.
You follow the story?
Yes, yes. People have reacted in uproar, in anger at this. But I'm actually perhaps going to surprise people with what I think of this. I think they should reinstate him.
On the premise of why he was suspended.
Yes, yes. They suspended him because they were investigating him for something. They investigated and found that
so he had to take the keys to the
But
safe.
that argument about him keeping the money while he was on suspension doesn't hold.
I'm not done. You know, they suspended, they removed him from office for a reason. They investigated him for that reason and found him not guilty.
Yes. Okay.
They still haven't reinstated him. Yet they have told him to return money. And he says, the money is in that office you are asking me not to enter.
Well, first of all,
so
he doesn't need to be reinstated to enter his own.
But why has he not been reinstated?
When they suspended him, they should have taken everything belonging to the Electoral Commission because it's not his personal property from him. That's a different matter.
Yes. So
actually, reinstatement is a different matter.
Actually, by all HR practices,
once you're suspended, you have to hand over everything.
Very good.
So why didn't you hand over?
Good. You have no access.
Was it blocked from entry?
Is it his fault that the handover hasn't occurred? Does he not have a line manager who must ensure the handover occurs?
No, I mean
do we know the circumstances under which he was suspended? Where was he at the time the suspension was announced? Okay, was he in the office?
Do you even take keys to the safe home?
Did he say he took it home?
Wherever it is. It is not at the Electoral Commission, is it?
How do we know that?
But he's the only person who can open. If he's the only person who has access to it, what kind of conclusion can I draw?
Maybe you shouldn't have suspended him while he was at home. Maybe he should have been in the office. You should have taken him through a process.
No, whichever way. I think there's some kind of indiscipline somewhere. The conversation about him being reinstated is another one altogether. But the fact that he's the only person... No, I don't think it's together. I don't think so.
You still don't blame him for it.
What if they needed those monies or the keys to the monies?
They clearly didn't. They obviously have a lot of money.
Whilst he was still being under investigation.
The EC clearly has a lot of cash.
Two different conversations altogether. But you shouldn't use one to justify the other.
But the most important thing here is this. They need the money now, right? They want him to return the money.
I think he said nobody has told him they need the money.
Okay. So if they want him to return the money, he's told them where it is. Why have they not reinstated him after finding him not guilty?
Okay.
That's another thing I agree.
Yeah, that's another. I agree that's another thing. But, well, heaven knows the number of places where people are practicing this. This is only has come out as in the limelight because the Electoral Commission has been in the news.
For safekeeping.
Yeah.
For months. Yeah. Is it not years now, actually? Is it more than a year?
Actually, you know,
is it not more than a year?
But there are people who work in places where they even can't invest the money like short-term investments.
Yeah, because you can take some treasury decisions.
Do you know how much profit you could make on 432,000
if you put it somewhere in an instrument
in 2 years?
But though, for a public office, they will need some clearance to do that, though. But if
it's cash that was handed to you for safekeeping, with no directives, guidelines as to where to keep it, which bank account. I mean, why is it not even in a bank account? Why is it in
maybe it was petty cash.
432,000 Ghana petty cash.
Anyway, it's not
petty about that.
It's not our decision whether that part of the action was appropriate or not. I don't know.
Well, it's written down somewhere, isn't it?
Okay, so we're done, right?
Yeah, we're done. We have to do sports, and Benedict is going to give us all the latest updates. There's been tennis ongoing as well. And
tennis resumes today. There was no action yesterday, no play.
Yeah, sure, but the World Cup seemed to have dwarfed.
Serena Williams, you know, like all the great names.
Nadal.
Nadal, they are in action today. But when you look at the the lineup for the women, the top 10, most of them, if not all of them, are down. And I like that because Serena is like number 25.
Yeah. You know, I don't know if there's time. I'd wanted to mention very quickly that the Business and Financial Times is reporting that the banks now have to cough up an extra 3 billion Ghana cedis to meet the Basel
All
II.
of them?
Yes. 3 billion.
So is that why
cedis.
GCB shareholders are voting to increase the capital then?
Well, I don't know if that voting
Is
process
related to this.
is related. This is regulatory.
Okay.
That one I think is voluntary. They want to increase the capitalization, but this is what the Bank of Ghana is going to start implementing. And you know what? It casts a bit more light on the circumstances under which UT, Capital, and is it Unibank?
Yeah, capital
found
adequacy ratios.
Yes, found themselves in the situations that they were in. I think the Bank of Ghana is alarmed at the amount of indiscipline when it comes to regulation of banks. And the president also sounds a bit upset with banks when he talks about how they make so much profit.
But who is the regulator
and don't
again?
invest. The Bank of Ghana.
And the Bank of, all right.
So they are the same people who really, it's been their job all this time to make sure that the banks are meeting requirements. But I think they also don't see the regulations as being stringent enough to ensure that banks are solid. Okay, it's not about how many banks there are. And I don't think we should have allegiance and loyalty to one bank over another. We should just be interested in a banking system that is safe. Even if there are only 3 banks operating, they must all be safe and reliable. The end.
Okay, so this bit about the GCB Bank, which is in the Finder newspaper, says that the bank has exceeded Bank of Ghana's minimum capital requirements by 100 million Ghana cedis ahead of the December 31st, 2018 deadline. So they don't have issues at all.
Yeah.
Okay, after all, they are the biggest bank in Ghana.
Well, yes.
The GCB. All right, I think our job here is done. Apologies, we're unable to bring you the online review, but that's where we end. We'll bring you sports in a bit.